Hi there, folks. Simmon here. Welcome back to the 2023 Trans-AtlanTak Tournament, Old World versus New World. We did see, the last time we were in here, we saw Pluto the Brave versus Red Boy 84, and Pluto came out on top, bringing Old World to 2 points, and New World still had 4 points. Since then, I wasn't able to cover these games because of timing issues, but Day of Knee and Aranor played. Day of Knee came out victorious, winning a point for New World, because Day of Knee is from Australia and was over on the New World side, and that made it 5-2. And then Ali versus Will happened. Ali playing for New World, Will playing for Old World. Will won that one, taking it to 5-3. In favor of New World. And now we're about to see Vogopolis versus Daallo. I'm not sure how that one is pronounced. Daallo or Daallo is from Mexico and should have been on New World, but things got wires got crossed at the beginning, and he was more than happy to play on Old World. But Vogopolis playing for New World here in the USA. So we're about to jump right into that game. And I will say, I recorded this one ahead of time, and they started before I could get a chance to start my recording. And so they're on like move 5, but I backed it up, and I'll walk through the different moves, and we can take a look at that. And then jump in right there from move 5 going forward. But yeah, these guys were lower down in the seeding. I believe they were the final seed, which again doesn't necessarily mean that's where they are in terms of skill level. It's just we kind of messed around with the seeding as captains, me and Aliano too, so that we could kind of try and get an advantage against our opponents. But regardless, they are the 13th seed here in this tournament. And let's jump right into this one-game match. Again, this is played on a 6x6 board with a 15-minute timer, a 15-second increment, and on move 35, they get 15 extra minutes added to their clock. So let's jump right into Vogopolis versus Daallo. I'm going to say Daallo from this point on, because, I mean, if he's from Mexico, maybe it's Daallo or Daallo, so I'll just say Daallo. And let's jump right in. All right, so we see an A1, F6, so opposite corners, and then playing right out from there, and then going straight to the center corner for black. White kind of making this into more of a Knight's Opening sort of thing, and then that capstone drops from white. Great capstone positioning for white. Black's got a solid capstone spot too, able to come over and really cut off everything that white's got going on. And now we're caught up to where things are. They were just too quick. I wasn't able to get in there as quick enough. But here we are, and this is where I think things are going to start really changing. So white's continuing to build for this vertical, even though black's capstone right there on D4 can just cut everything off. So I think that is a really interesting choice here. So I'm expecting white to shift gears to a horizontal at some point, and black to maybe play over like at F4 here. The reason why I would say black could play at F4 is because then when black does finally come over with that capstone onto E4, he's got that anchor point on that side of the board so that he can connect that capstone and work towards that horizontal. But instead, drops the wall down at E1, and white counters by playing off to the left there at D5. That is an interesting choice, and I'd say it's interesting because it is going for the horizontal shift, sure. However, it's also right next to black's capstone, which is also just a testament to how good of a capstone placement that black one was. It's also follows a lot of the same guidelines that we talk about in the capstones video of TAC University. Right there in the center, can't be isolated. However, we take a look at white playing down here at F2. Now this is an anchor point in the horizontal direction, but it also is working towards that vertical at the same time. if white plays down at f1, that goes for the vertical road. And so it's working for both of these things at the same time, and I think that's exactly what Vogopolis wants to do here. Vogopolis has played in a number of beginner tournaments, and I believe I've seen him play at Gen Con in person there in Indianapolis. And so he's no stranger to these beginner tournaments for sure. Daallo, however, has never played in any tournament, or Daallo. I think I said I was going to say Daallo. So Daallo has never played in any tournament, and this is his very first one playing in this Trans-AtlanTak tournament. But Daallo is really taking his time here, trying to figure out what to do about this situation. And I think that f4 flat still works here, because you're going to be bringing that capstone over eventually. So playing that flat at f4 just really fortifies that position and supports that capstone with what it wants to do. And what it wants to do is cut off that vertical line and push for that horizontal. And if he waits too long to do something like that, then white will be able to play around him and go off to the right-hand side of it, playing at f4 themselves. Another thing that black could do is play down at f1 to sort of block that flat placement. I don't like that one as much, even though it is pretty definitively against that side. White would have to play down at d1, d2 in order to make that connection again. But the problem is it doesn't do anything for black offensively. It is a purely defensive move, similar to that wall at e1. And you want to make your moves have an offensive and defensive purpose. And I think that is why Daallo is taking so long here on this turn, really trying to figure out what the best move is to make this. Now, we take a look at Daallo's time, down to 11 minutes on the clock, whereas Vogopolis is at 16. And they started with 15, so that 15-second increment is really coming in handy for Vogopolis, taking very, very short turns here, well under that 15-second average of turn time. I do not expect Vogopolis will run into any issues in terms of timing. Oh, and Daallo drops another wall at f1, even more defensive than my other thought of dropping a flat at f1. So this is pretty heavily defensive here. White, again, just playing another flat at d2, ready to make that anchor point at d1. Black, again, still has time. This is not a tack threat. Black has time to make a placement at like f4 here and bring that capstone over, or it can just bring the capstone over right now. But again, that f4 placement first is going to be a lot more helpful here. Taking a look at the other options, this basically hasn't changed. I mean, you can bring d3 down, but that's not really great. It kind of messes up with his positioning. He's got that citadel right in the middle of the board, which is a nice formation. However, he's just really on the back foot here in terms of flats and in terms of positioning, because he's got these two walls in the bottom right-hand corner. White's able to build in two different directions, in the horizontal and the vertical, whereas black is kind of stuck defending here. The only thing he's got going on at the moment is he's able to try and go for a vertical, but white has way more momentum and way more abilities to cut it off. Because no matter where he goes, whether it be d5 or c2 to go for the vertical, white can build at the other one and work for their own horizontal and be ahead on momentum. So things are not looking too great for black at the moment. Does play at c2. White likely going to play down at d1 here. Maybe play at c5. Does play at d1. This is now a tack threat. Black is going to have to defend against this. I believe this is the first tack threat of the game. White can make a road here by placing at either f5 or e6 or d6. Any of those do work. Black forced to make a capture here. Likely bring that E1 wall up onto E2. That's the best shot here. Instead, brings the capstone over finally. I was expecting that move, again, after an F4 in several moves back, but it does do the trick. So would bring that wall up again, the E1 up onto E2. White filling in there at D4, ready to come over left with the capstone, make another tack threat, or maybe waiting to come over left. Maybe going to place at E6 first, or D6, or F5. Make that placement up at the top, that connection first, then make the threat with the capstone. Though I think the capstone coming left first is a little bit better. But Black is definitely not out of the woods yet. White has a lot of threat opportunities here to continue pushing and keeping that pressure on and forcing moves out of Black. But it is Black's turn right now. Black has the opportunity to play something else. Maybe play flat at C1. Though I think D5 is better if they want to go for that vertical here. Yeah, D5 is definitely better for the vertical. Could play at F4 and then plan to come up with D3. Go for the horizontal. Black also has plenty of options here. Just needs to spot those. Again, Vogopolis at 16.5 minutes just continues to make these quick turns. Daallo, however, is down to 8 minutes on the clock, so has spent easily over 8 minutes of his time on these first 10 moves. All right. What could Daallo be thinking here? Again, F4 is a decent move. D5 is a decent move. I could even see D3 plus being a decent move here. C1 less of a good move, but still totally fine. Definitely taking his time on this turn. Trying to figure out what to do. He's got to be careful. He will run into some serious time problems later on down the road if he's spending so much time on these early moves. That Pluto the Brave versus Red Boy 84 game lasted well over an hour. So, or I think right on an hour. Somewhere around there. So that would that would definitely be a problem here for Daallo if it went long. Though typically those really long games only happen between pretty top tier competitors when it's very even like that. Pluto and Rebel 84. Also when you've got somebody like Rebel 84 or Morton or Abyss who take a lot of time when playing the game. Does decide to play up at C5. Again, this was one of the moves that I was thinking was not a bad move at all. This is where White makes the connection up at E6. This is where the capstone left will be a road. So Black's going to have to do something. I expect D3 plus to be the move here. That seems to be, for me at least, the best move that Black can make to really cut this off. Is that D3 plus. That goes for the horizontal. It also cuts off White's vertical more. It isolates White's capstone. Like, it does a lot of good things. And I think that move alone, D3 plus, is a good enough move in this position to basically turn this game on its head. Suddenly, it is not so much white is in the driver's seat. Now black has some opportunities here and can come back. Then black gets momentum. Black gets to decide what things are going on and how this game proceeds. I think that that can really shift this whole thing, and that it would very much shift this game into black's favor. We just have to see if Daallo sees that move. All right. What else could he be doing here? He could bring E1 left onto D1, I suppose. Oh, that doesn't stop it at all. Capstone can just come left onto D3 and complete the road. This wall coming up onto E2 doesn't stop the threat. So that white capstone coming left can just end the road here. There it is. So Daallo missed the road there, and Vogopolis comes out on top. This, I believe, takes the score of the Trans-AtlanTak to 6-3. So the New World only needs one more point to bring it to 7, which would give them the victory. So congratulations to Vogopolis and New World for winning that point, and well played, both players. That was fun to watch. And that is all for today. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out the description below for all things TAK, especially the TAK Discord server, which is where you can find all sorts of TAK resources like strategy guides and people to play with, whether that be right here on playtak.com or asynchronously through the Discord server, playing just one move a day if you want to. Lots of great people to play with, lots of great resources there on the Discord server, so be sure to check that out. And until next time, have a great day and happy tacking.